loud and proud. First take on the road in North Carolina. Tonight he has the call for the big game with Dan Schulman. We welcome in our ESPN analyst, Jay Bilas. Give it up for Jay Bilas, everybody.
We'd like to make you feel welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So yesterday, Jay, you were on the show and you said there is no other rivalry like the one we will see tonight. Tell us what you expect from the game.
Well, I think it comes down to three things. Number one is North Carolina's Marcus Page. He's really the three-point attack for North Carolina. He's made over half of their threes. He's an outstanding player. He's been playing much better in conference play than he did in non-conference play. And he's one of those guys that you can't leave, that you have to find him early and you have to stay with him. And if you can deny him the ball, that's even better. It's one thing to play him after he gets the ball, but you got to play him before. The second thing is the glass. I think this game's going to be won or lost on the backboards because North Carolina's a really good rebounding team. They're bigger, they're deeper up front, and they're an outstanding offensive rebounding team. And the last is transition, that when you offensive rebound like North Carolina does, you're going to send 3, sometimes 4 guys to the offensive glass. Now, Carolina likes to get out and run, so you have to get back and stop them. But I think at times you can run on North Carolina if you are strong enough to get a defensive rebound and kick it out and go. And I think Duke would be wise to try to get as many transition opportunities as they can because North Carolina's going to try. It's going to be an up-tempo game and an up-and-down game.
It's interesting that you bring that up because that's why I think this game, typically in North Carolina Duke fashion, I think it's going to come down to the wire because I think North Carolina recognizes if you don't crash the ball, then you crash the boards, then you're going to facilitate Duke's running game. And when that happens, North Carolina will get blown out of Cameron Indoor Stadium if that happens. I can't see that. I just can't see that happening. I think North Carolina is going to rebound the basketball and they're going to slow the pace, and that is what's going to keep this game tight tonight.
And they're going to one of the things that North Carolina does extraordinarily well is they punch the ball inside. And as you guys know, this is a little bit of a different game that you don't have to worry about intensity level. In fact, you really have to worry about getting too hyped up for it and letting your emotions go too far before the game starts. I think one of the issues that North Carolina has had this year has been sort of inconsistency in their toughness level. And that's never an issue in this game on either side. Right. Everybody brings it in this game. And so I agree with you. I think it's going to be a close game. And when Carolina punches the ball inside, that gives them foul opportunities. And you got to keep, I think you have to keep, especially Marcus Page off the free throw line. You can't let a guy like that get to the line because he and Nate Britt are automatic free throw shooters. You foul them, they're making them.
So, Jay, give us some insight into this. Right now, Carolina ranks first in the country in assists, second in rebounding, it's pretty good, 17th in scoring, yet in points allowed, Carolina now ranks, they've fallen all the way to 227th. What's your take on that?
That's kind of what I was talking about with the toughness issue. I think they are capable, I think they're much better than their record, and they are capable of much more on a consistency level. That's never been
on the defensive end.
On both ends, but especially on the defensive end. Like I actually think their offense should be better, but that's part of their defense is a big part of that. Like one of the things that has always been a staple of North Carolina has been their running game, and you run essentially off your defense, off of a rebound, off of a turnover, things like that. But especially for them, off of a rebound, and they've not been as good of a defensive rebounding team. Like Roy Williams will tell you that Marcus Page is their best defender. And he's a very good defender.
He told us that yesterday.
But he should not be.
Yep.
You know who should be their best defender? Is J.P. Tokoto.
Sure.
He should be their best defender by far. And he's a stud athlete. He's big, he's strong, he's unbelievably athletic. I only think they're going to be like, and this is a top 15, top 10 good. I mean, instead of national championship good. Until J.P. Tokoto becomes their best defender. If he's their best defender and their big guys are stronger going to the basket and stronger protecting the basket, there's nobody they cannot beat. There's nobody they cannot beat. If they play as inconsistently as they've played, the list of teams that can beat them, it grows longer.
I hear what you're saying about Tokoto, but let me ask you this question. When you talk about the absence of toughness that North Carolina may have displayed this season.
Well, it's not the absence, just inconsistency.
Inconsistency, that's what I meant. Who are you talking about against? Was it against Kentucky? Was it against Virginia? Who would you highlight when you looked at them and said, you know what, this concerns me as it pertains to their inconsistency with toughness?
Well, it's been a number of games. Virginia was one of them, especially in the second half. There have been times in second halves where they've been up against it, and I think have not furrowed their brow individually or collectively. And look, we're talking about the difference between they're really good. We're talking about the difference between really good and great, and they expect great. And so that's what I'm talking about. But all you have to do is look to their last game against Pittsburgh. North Carolina shot 50% in the game. They put up a bunch of points. They gave up 89 to a team that has had some problems scoring this year. And Pittsburgh shot
15
65%.
at Virginia the other night in the first half.
Pittsburgh shot 65% in that game. And look, I mean, I don't care who you are. You're not getting a hand up on a team shooting 65%. That's a defensive. That's a want-to issue.
I was asking the question because what I try to do from time to time is that if I see a weakness against a particular team, then I'm looking at that particular team and comparing that to what Duke might throw at them.
Well, but see, that's where this game I think is different. And Duke and North Carolina have had forever, and they're not the only programs. There are others. Indiana, you know, you can name other big shot programs. Kentucky, where you can watch a team on film against somebody else in your league and go, well, they're not that good. Look, they don't do this. That's not the team you're getting. You're going to get the A game they've got. So whatever they may have done against another opponent, like you can look at North Carolina's game against Pittsburgh and say, look at that, they didn't guard this, they didn't guard that. That's not what what Duke's going to get. And so you cannot look at that stuff. You got to look at they're going to bring their absolute best. Both teams are. So if you look at one of Duke's games where they played poorly against Miami to find weaknesses, you know, they may have some areas where you can attack, but they're not going to look like that in this one. That's just not going to happen.
So, Jay, give us your take on the year Marcus Page has had to date. Obviously, he was a preseason player of the year, national player of the year candidate. He was the preseason ACC player of the year. Roy Williams pointed out he's about 6 feet tall and 160 pounds. He's gotten beat up. He's had knick-knack injuries. He's had plantar fasciitis that he's fought through. He's not had quite the year everybody was expecting. Your take on him so far?
I agree with that. I think he's been very good at times. He's been good throughout. And he's a really good, I mean, he's a really good player and an all-star caliber player. But he's the number one target on everybody's hit list for best defender, always guards him. He draws double teams at times. Big guys are coming off and hedging really hard when he's coming off screens because he's their three-point attack. Outside of him, the next, he's hit 63s on the season for them. Next is Nate Britt, who's hit 21. And Nate Britt hit 3 last year, so he's actually improved quite a bit. He went from shooting lefty last year; he shoots right-handed. Yeah. I've never seen a guy do that, and his shooting's improved tremendously. But he's got to be the target, and as long as you don't foul him and make sure everything's difficult, and you make him guard on the other end, you can. He gets a little bit, as anybody would. You know, you can try to wear him down.
Sure,
he's usually stronger in the second half. But that means other guys have to step forward, and I think a couple guys. There have been some inconsistencies there, and North Carolina's capable. They're good, and they're really good. Oh. But the inconsistency, I think, is the thing that would probably concern Roy Williams the most. Is that why don't we bring it every night like he thinks that they should? And usually a North Carolina team does that. But if they do, and there's still plenty of time left for them to get it together at the highest level. They're capable of beating anyone.
What are you anticipating North Carolina's big boys, whether it's Bryce Johnson, whether it's Kenny, what are they going to do against Jahlil Okafor tonight?
Well, I mean, I think they'll try to double at times. It's not something that they normally do, but I think you're going to have to throw different looks at them. There'll be times when they're going to play zone, and they do. They play some 1-3-1. They can play some 2-3, some point zone. They do a lot of different things. And then the other part of it is that they can, as you know, they can run and jump. They can throw a scramble at you where they will trap when you get it across half court. They'll trap sometimes on a first pass. They have a lot of different looks that they can give you to disrupt your rhythm. But I do think the fact that they have more bodies, like Duke's got 8 guys now after dismissing Rasheed Suleiman. They've got 8 guys. 4 of them are freshmen, and 2 of them don't play a ton. So really, you're looking at a 6-man team. And in punching the ball inside as often as Carolina does, that puts you in a position to get some fouls. And so, you know, getting early fouls and getting in foul trouble is going to be an issue.
Jay mentions earlier 3 things to this game. Marcus Page, when the glass in transition, also said that North Carolina has an issue with inconsistency. You don't pick games, do you? If you
Not
had
the
to,
games I'm calling.
Yeah, you don't pick the games you're calling. I just want to make sure. And I understand that. We'll pick a game a little later on today, but we're going to ask you at home to help us out. Go to Twitter and use the hashtag Twitter. Heels or Blue Devils. That's the hashtag Heels or Blue Devils. And we will reveal the results a little later on in the show, along with their picks. Coming up next, Danny Ferry gets a huge vote of confidence. Will he be back? That is the discussion. We're at Penn Pavilion on Duke campus. Thank you so much.